The sky over Geneva turned strange that Tuesday morning. Thousands of people looked up as their phones buzzed with emergency alerts. Giant ships appeared in orbit, visible even in daylight. They were massive, shaped like arrowheads, and dark as space itself. Major Alan Russell stood in Earth Defense Force headquarters, watching the main screen with his hands clenched behind his back. His face showed no emotion, but his knuckles turned white. "How many?" he asked. Lieutenant Gary Davis checked the sensors again. "Over 200 ships, sir. The largest is about 5 miles long. And we have no idea who they are," Major Russell said. It wasn't a question. Just then, Dr. Olivia Grant rushed into the room. Her lab coat was wrinkled, and dark circles showed under her eyes. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, she hadn't slept since the ships were first detected approaching the solar system 3 days ago. "They're trying to talk to us," she said. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." The main screen flickered, then showed a face. It looked almost human, but with purple-tinted skin and eyes that were too large. A pattern of small ridges ran across its forehead. "People of Earth," the alien said in perfect English, "I am Ambassador Zarkesh of the Galactic Empire. We have come to welcome you into our family of worlds." Major Russell and Dr. Grant exchanged looks. They had prepared for this day, but not like this. Not with a fleet large enough to block out the sun. 3 hours later, Dr. Grant sat across from Ambassador Zarkesh in a hastily prepared meeting room at the United Nations. 5 other humans were present, representing Earth's largest nations. The alien had brought no one. "We offer protection, technology, medicine," Zarkesh said, smiling in a way that didn't reach his eyes. "All we ask is that Earth acknowledges the Empire as its rightful ruler and pays a modest tribute." "Ambassador," Dr. Grant said carefully, "while we appreciate your offer, Earth is not looking for rulers. We would prefer to join your galactic community as equals." Zarkesh's smile vanished. "There are no equals in the Empire. There is the Emperor, and there are those who serve. You will learn this." The Chinese representative leaned forward. "Perhaps we could discuss a gradual integration that respects Earth's sovereignty while—" "There is nothing to discuss," Zarkesh cut him off. "You have 24 hours to submit. The Emperor is generous, but his patience has limits." With that, the alien stood and left the room. Major Russell was watching the lunar colony through a telescope when it happened. A thin beam of light shot down from one of the ships. Armstrong Colony, home to 12,000 people, glowed bright for a second, then collapsed into dust. His communicator beeped urgently. "Russell." "Major, it's Grant. They just destroyed the moon base as a demonstration. They said we have 12 hours now, not 24. Russell closed his eyes briefly. "Get back to headquarters. I'm activating emergency protocol Omega." 3 hours later, Dr. Grant hunched over a microscope in her lab. The door was locked, and armed guards stood outside. She had managed to collect a skin sample from Zarkesh during their meeting. What she found made her blood run cold. The alien cells reacted violently to Earth bacteria. Not just any bacteria, common, harmless ones that lived on human skin. The cells disintegrated within minutes. She reached for her secure phone to call Major Russell when the building shook. The lights flickered, then went out. Emergency power kicked in seconds later. Her phone rang. It was Russell. "They're bombing military targets worldwide," he said without greeting. "The lunar colony was just the start. Get your data and get to the emergency bunker." "Alain," she said, using his first name for the first time. "I found something. They have no immunity to Earth microbes. None." There was silence on the line. "That might be the only advantage we've got," Russell finally said. "Make copies of everything. I'll send someone to escort you." As she gathered her research, Dr. Grant could hear the distant sound of explosions. The Galactic Empire had declared war on humanity. They would soon discover it was the worst mistake they could have made. 1 week after the first attacks, General Samantha Cole stood in the underground command center deep within the Rocky Mountains. The room was filled with the constant noise of communications and the glow of dozens of screens. Her face looked tired but determined. "Status report," she ordered. Colonel Frank Peters swiped across his tablet. "We've lost 38% of our surface military bases. Civilian casualties are high in major cities. The Empire has established control over most of Europe and Eastern Asia." General Cole nodded slowly. "And our special protocols?" "All active, ma'am. Operation Silent Retreat is proceeding as planned." On the main screen, they watched as Earth forces fought brief battles before pulling back. To anyone watching, it looked like defeat after defeat. But that was exactly what General Cole wanted the Empire to see. Aboard the Imperial command ship, Imperial Judgment, Admiral Cavor reviewed the battle reports with satisfaction. His scaled fingers tapped against the metal table as he addressed his officers. "These humans are even weaker than expected," he said. "Their weapons barely damage our shields. Their aircraft fall from the sky like insects." A junior officer bowed low. "Great Admiral, should we be concerned about their nuclear weapons?" Admiral Cavor laughed. "Their nuclear launch sites were our first targets. Besides, they would not destroy their own planet to hurt us." He turned to his commander of ground forces. "Begin the occupation phase. I want control of their major population centers within 2 days." "It will be done, Admiral." Dr. William Hayes worked frantically in his lab, 300 feet below the surface of what used to be a civilian research center in Colorado. Around him, dozens of scientists worked on various projects. Guards with advanced weapons stood at every entrance. Lieutenant Eric Murphy entered the lab, his uniform dusty and torn. He carried a metal case. "Dr. Hayes," he said, "Special Forces Team Delta reporting. We've secured samples of Empire technology as ordered." Dr. Hayes rushed over, his eyes lighting up. "You got inside one of their ships." "Better," Lieutenant Murphy said, opening the case. "We captured an entire landing craft. It's being transported here now, piece by piece." Dr. Hayes stared at the alien components with wonder. "This will save us months of research." He looked up at the lieutenant. "Did you lose anyone?" "2 good men," Murphy said quietly. "They made sure the rest of us got out." Hayes put a hand on Murphy's shoulder. "Their sacrifice won't be forgotten. This might be the key to everything." General Cole watched as Empire ships landed in what remained of Washington, D.C. Aliens walked confidently through the ruins, setting up command posts. They seemed to have no fear of the scattered human resistance. "They think we're beaten," she said to no one in particular. "They think this is surrender." Colonel Peters stood beside her. "Phase 1 is complete, General. All critical personnel and resources have been evacuated to secure locations. The Empire is capturing empty shells and outdated equipment. And they have no idea what's happening in space." "None, ma'am. Our lunar facilities were decoys. The real production has always been on Mars and in the asteroid belt." General Cole nodded with grim satisfaction. "Send the coded message to all commands. Execute Phase 2. In an Empire base camp near Chicago, Governor Vex Tura was puzzled. He reviewed the population reports with growing confusion. "There should be more resistance," he told his security chief. "Their military is fighting and retreating in a pattern, but their civilians are too compliant. Perhaps they simply know when they are beaten," the security chief suggested. "No," Vex Tura said slowly. "Something is wrong. Where are all their scientists? Their engineers? Their military leaders? We've captured so few of importance." Just then, the ground beneath them trembled slightly. "What was that?" Vex Tura demanded. "Unknown, Governor. Perhaps their planet's natural seismic activity." But Governor Vex Tura wasn't convinced. For the first time since the invasion began, he felt a chill of unease. Far below the surface, in bunkers and hidden facilities across the planet, Humanity was getting ready to show the Empire exactly how badly they had miscalculated. 3 weeks into the occupation, Dr. Karen Mitchell stood in the Olympus Research Facility hidden deep within the Martian surface. Through reinforced windows, she watched as massive machines assembled components that no human had ever seen before the war. "How much longer?" she asked, her voice steadied despite her exhaustion. Commander Jack Nelson checked his tablet. "The first planet cracker will be ready for testing in 2 days. The production lines for the smaller weapons are already at full capacity." Dr. Mitchell nodded. "And the delivery systems?" "Ready. The ships are being loaded now." They both knew what this meant. For decades, humanity had theorized about weapons that could break planets apart, thinking they would never build such terrible things. Now they had no choice. On Earth, Empire troops patrolled the streets of New York City, now serving as the regional headquarters for Governor Vextura. The alien administrator looked out from his office in what had once been the United Nations building. "Another supply depot attacked," he said, looking at the reports. "The third this week." His aide, a junior officer, stood at attention. "We captured 3 of the attackers, Governor. They are being interrogated now." "And what have we learned from the previous captives?" Vextura asked. "Very little. They seem to be operating in small cells. They know only their immediate commanders." Governor Vextura made a sound of frustration. "Where are they getting their weapons, their fuel, their information? We control all the major factories and power plants." The aide had no answer. Steve Ramirez moved silently through the abandoned subway tunnels beneath the city. His team of 6 followed close behind, each carrying part of the alien communication device they had stolen during their raid. 2 minutes, he whispered, checking the hand-drawn map he carried. "Loading dock should be right above us." The resistance fighter next to him, a former nurse named Diane, kept her weapon ready. "Guards. 2 outside, unknown inside. Remember, we need this delivered to the pickup point intact." They reached a maintenance ladder and climbed up, emerging in an empty storage room. Through a small window in the door, Steve could see the loading dock. A truck waited there with its engine running. "Perfect timing," he said. "Let's move." On Europa, Jupiter's ice-covered moon, Commander Nelson stood in a testing chamber reinforced with materials developed specifically for this project. Dr. Mitchell's voice came through his headset. "Test firing in 10 seconds. All personnel. Confirm safe positions." Nelson double-checked the instruments. Safe position confirmed. All readings nominal. The weapon they were testing was smaller than his hand. It didn't look dangerous, just a small cylinder with glowing blue lines. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Firing. A brilliant beam of light shot from the device, hitting the test target. A chunk of ice and rock the size of a small house. For a moment, nothing happened. Then tiny cracks appeared all over the target. Seconds later, it crumbled into dust. "Test successful." Dr. Mitchell's voice was flat, professional, but Nelson could hear the edge of wonder and fear beneath it. "If the scaling calculations are correct, the full-sized version will work on planetary bodies." "How soon can we deploy?" Nelson asked. 2 more weeks. We need to be absolutely certain of the targeting systems." In his heavily guarded compound, Governor Vextura received news that made his blood run cold. The Empire's best troops had found what appeared to be a human last resort facility hidden in the mountains. They had destroyed it completely, expecting to cripple Earth's final resistance. Instead, they found the facility nearly empty. The few humans captured there laughed when interrogated. "You're looking in the wrong direction," one prisoner said before taking his own life. Vextura stared at the report. "Wrong direction. What did that mean?" That night, he looked up at the sky. Mars glowed red in the distance. For some reason, he felt a chill run down his spine. The Empire had won every battle on Earth. Why, then, did he feel like something terrible was about to happen? Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the Defiance, Humanity's first true warship built entirely in space. Hidden in Jupiter's shadow for the past month, the human fleet was now ready. 50 ships, each armed with weapons the Empire had never seen. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said her communications officer. Admiral Carter nodded. "Send the signal to Earth Resistance. Operation Thunderhead begins in 30 minutes." She looked at the tactical display showing the Empire's fleet spread throughout the solar system. Most of their ships were in Earth orbit or positioned near Mars. They had no idea what was coming. Captain Peter Walsh checked the systems of his destroyer, the Retribution, one last time. His ship had been assigned to strike the Empire's fuel processing stations around Saturn. Weapons status, he asked his second-in-command. Sunburst missiles armed and ready. Eye-targeting systems at 100%, replied Lieutenant Donna Lewis. Captain Walsh took a deep breath. This is what we trained for. The Empire thinks they've won. They're about to learn how wrong they are. On his flagship Eternal Dominion, Empire General Draz Kull received an urgent message from a sensor outpost near Jupiter. "What do you mean, strange readings?" he demanded. "Be specific." The nervous officer on the screen stuttered. "As something is moving from behind Jupiter, sir. Multiple objects, large ones." "Show me." The screen changed to show grainy images of Jupiter. At first, there was nothing. Then dark shapes moved against the gas giant's surface. General Draz Kull felt his heart race. Full alert. All ships prepare for battle. But he was already too late. Chief Engineer Nathan Bradley sat in the control center of Earth's first military AI system, codenamed Athena. It had been designed specifically to counter Empire technology. "Athena is fully integrated with the fleet," he reported to General Kull over a secure channel. "Starting electronic warfare protocols now." He typed a series of commands, and the system came fully online. Instantly, it began attacking Empire communications, inserting false data and blocking real transmissions. "Athena reports Empire ships are experiencing system failures," Bradley said, watching the data flood his screens. "They're blind and confused." Admiral Carter watched as her fleet emerged from Jupiter's shadow, moving at full speed toward their targets. "First wave, engage," she ordered. 20 ships broke formation, heading toward the Empire vessels stationed around Mars. The rest continued toward Earth. On the tactical display, she saw the first missiles launch. They were humanity's newest weapon, the Sunburst, designed to penetrate Empire shields. Each carried enough power to destroy the largest Empire ships. "Impact in 5 seconds," reported the weapons officer. The bridge crew watched in tense silence. Then the display lit up as the first Empire ships exploded. General Draz Kull tried desperately to coordinate his forces, but communications were failing. Strange signals filled every channel, and his ships were reporting impossible sensor readings. "What is happening?" he shouted as another explosion rocked his flagship. An aide ran to his side. "Sir, our fuel stations around Saturn are under attack. We've lost contact with a quarter of the fleet." Just then, the main view screen came back to life. But instead of showing his own forces, it displayed a human woman in a military uniform. "This is Admiral Lisa Carter of the United Earth Defense Force," she said, her voice cold. "You attacked our world without provocation. You killed our people. You thought us weak. That was your mistake." Draz Kull snarled, "Your pathetic fleet cannot defeat the Empire. We will crush you." Admiral Carter's expression didn't change. "This isn't our fleet, General. This is just the advance team." As if on cue, the sensor officer cried out, "Sir, massive energy readings from Mars orbit, hundreds of ships launching." For the first time since the invasion began, General Draz Kull felt fear. On Earth, resistance fighters emerged from hiding all at once. They attacked Empire positions with weapons that hadn't existed 6 weeks ago. Empire soldiers fell back in confusion, uncertain where to direct their forces. Governor Vextura received reports of attacks everywhere at once. His command center was in chaos. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Where did they get these weapons?" No one had an answer. Then a human voice came through on all channels, addressing not just the Empire forces, but all of humanity. "People of Earth, this is President Dale Howard. Today, we answer the Empire's declaration of war. Today, we fight back." President Laura Hawkins stood in the rebuilt command center in Geneva. Just 1 month ago, this building had been rubble. Now it hummed with activity as officers moved between stations, coordinating the global counteroffensive. "Show me the asteroid belt," she ordered. The main screen changed to display the vast ring of rocks between Mars and Jupiter. But these weren't ordinary asteroids anymore. Hundreds glowed with activity, surrounded by small ships that moved between them like busy insects. General Vincent Rivera pointed to the largest clusters. "The Vulcan network is at full production, Madam President. We're building 5 new warships every day." President Hawkins nodded. "And our ground forces, retaking major cities worldwide. Empire troops are falling back to their landing zones." For the first time since the invasion, the President allowed herself a small smile. "It's time for Phase 3. Send the order." Empire Supreme Commander Corlax received the news of Earth's counterattack with disbelief. Standing before the Emperor's War Council on the capital world Zorkal, he struggled to explain. "The humans concealed their true military capability," he said, his voice shaking. "They allowed us to believe they were primitive." An elder counselor slammed his fist on the table. "Impossible. Our intelligence was thorough." "Our intelligence was wrong," Corlax replied. "They have weapons that can penetrate our best shields. They have ships appearing from nowhere. And now," he paused, dreading what he had to say next. "Speak," ordered the Emperor's representative. "They're building more, many more. They've turned their asteroid belt into the largest shipyard I've ever seen." The council chamber erupted in angry shouts and questions. Above the noise, Corlax added, "I've ordered all available ships to reinforce our fleet in the human system. We must crush them now, before they grow stronger." Director Michelle Thompson moved quietly through the streets of an Empire colony world. To anyone watching, she looked like any other civilian worker. No one noticed as she entered a small shop and descended to its basement. 20 agents waited for her there, each disguised as a different species that served the Empire. "We have confirmation," she told them. Operation Shadow was approved. One of the agents, a man who had altered his appearance to look like one of the Empire's warrior caste, smiled grimly. "How many targets?" "All of them," Director Thompson replied. "Every shipyard, every supply depot, every command center across all 32 Empire worlds. We strike simultaneously in 6 days." In the asteroid belt, a massive rock designated VN-17 split open like a blooming flower. From within emerged the largest human warship ever built. Nearly a mile long, the Reckoning gleamed under the distant sun. General Rivera watched from a smaller vessel as the giant ship powered up its engines for the first time. "Beautiful, isn't she?" asked Dr. Mitchell, who had joined him for this moment. "Terrifying," General Rivera corrected, "but necessary." The Reckoning carried the first full-sized planet cracker weapon. It could destroy a world from orbit, a power humanity had never dreamed of having, let alone using. "Are we becoming like them?" Dr. Mitchell asked quietly. General Rivera turned to look at her. "No, we built this to end the war, not to conquer. There's a difference. On Earth, human forces advanced across every continent. Empire troops, cut off from their fleet and running low on supplies, fought desperately but were pushed back mile by mile. Governor Vextura, now trapped in his compound with his last loyal troops, received the final communication from Supreme Commander Corlax. Reinforcements will arrive in 15 days. Hold your position at all costs." Vextura looked at his tactical display. Human forces surrounded him on all sides. tightening the circle each hour. He doubted he had 15 hours, let alone 15 days. Outside, he could hear the sounds of Earth's troops advancing. Strange mechanical sounds accompanied them, the march of combat robots that the humans had somehow built and deployed in mere weeks. How had they done this? How had they hidden such capacity from the Empire's best spies? As his last defenses failed, Vextura finally understood the truth. The Empire hadn't discovered Earth. Earth had been waiting for the Empire. Fleet Admiral Daniel Morrison stood on the bridge of the inevitable consequence, humanity's flagship. Around him, officers worked at their stations as the massive fleet moved through hyperspace toward the Empire's core worlds. 3 months had passed since Earth's counterattack began. In that time, humanity had pushed the Empire entirely out of the solar system and begun striking back. Now they were taking the fight directly to the enemy. Time to exit hyperspace, Admiral Morrison asked. 2 minutes, sir, replied the navigation officer. All ships report ready for combat. Morrison nodded. After studying the data recovered from captured Empire ships, humans had quickly mastered the aliens' faster-than-light technology and improved upon it. Send the final warning to all ships, he ordered. Remember, we target military installations only. No civilian centers. Emperor Zarketh Xi paced in his palace on Zorkal. Reports of the human fleet approaching had thrown the capital into panic. How had it come to this? Just months ago, humans were supposed to be a simple conquest, a minor species to be added to the Empire's collection. They've destroyed our outer defenses, reported his military aide. 300 ships lost already. Where is Supreme Commander Korlax? The Emperor demanded. Dead, Your Majesty. His flagship was destroyed in the Battle of Rigel. Emperor Zarketh felt cold fear grip him. For the first time in the Empire's 10,000-year history, an enemy force approached the throne world itself. Evacuate the palace, he ordered. Prepare my personal ship. Dr. Olivia Grant studied the data on her screen with growing horror. As head of the Xenobiology war effort, she had access to information recovered from Empire databases. What she found shocked her to the core. Admiral, she said, connecting to Fleet Admiral Morrison's command channel. I've discovered something you need to see immediately. The Admiral's face appeared on her screen. Go ahead, Doctor. The Empire's history, she said. They've destroyed 17 other species completely. Genocide. Admiral. And they were planning the same for us. The Admiral's expression hardened. Send everything to my terminal. I want the full report before we reach Zorkal. Colonel Heather Wright led her special operations team through the dark corridors of the Empire's central data repository on the planet Vexnor. Disguised as Empire maintenance workers, they had infiltrated the facility with relative ease. 2 minutes to complete the download, whispered Sergeant Ben Miller, who was connecting the human device to the alien computer system. Colonel Wright kept watch at the door. Hurry. Security patrols pass every 8 minutes. The data they were stealing contained the locations of every Empire military installation, supply depot, and shipyard. It would give Fleet Admiral Morrison everything he needed to cripple the Empire's war machine. Download complete, Sergeant Miller said. Colonel Wright nodded. Place the package. Sergeant Miller attached a small device to the main server. When they were gone, it would release a virus designed to corrupt the Empire's entire communication network. On board the flagship, Admiral Morrison reviewed Dr. Grant's findings with growing anger. Broadcast this to every world in the Empire, he ordered. Everyone should know what their leaders have done. His communications officer looked shocked. Sir, that would cause chaos across Empire space. Exactly, Morrison replied. And it might save us from having to destroy them completely. Within hours, the truth spread across thousands of worlds. The Empire had systematically wiped out entire civilizations, erasing their cultures and histories. Now they faced a species who refused to be their next victim. Emperor Zarketh's escape ship never made it off the planet. As it rose from the palace landing pad, Human fighters appeared from nowhere, disabling its engines with precision shots. The Emperor watched through the viewport as his palace grew smaller below him, then larger again as the ship was forced to return to the ground. When the hatch opened, he expected to see human soldiers with weapons raised. Instead, a single woman stood there, Dr. Olivia Grant. "Emperor Zarketh," she said, "my name is Dr. Grant. We met briefly when your ambassador first came to Earth." The Emperor sneered. "Have you come to kill me, human?" "No," Dr. Grant replied. "I've come to show you something." She held up a small device. On it played images of 17 extinct species, all destroyed by the Empire. "We found your records," she said. "We know what you've done. And we've shared it with everyone in your empire." For the first time in his long life, Emperor Zarketh felt something unfamiliar: shame. Across the galaxy, world after world rose up against the Empire as the truth spread like wildfire. Supreme Commander Jason Burke stood on the observation deck of the Reckoning, looking down at the Empire's home system. After 6 months of war, humanity had pushed deep into Empire territory. Now they stood at the heart of their enemy's power. The Emperor was in custody. Most of the Empire's fleet had been destroyed or surrendered, but a final pocket of resistance remained. The Empire Regent Tolvar had gathered the remaining loyal forces at the capital system of Zorkal. "All ships in position, Commander," reported his aide. Burke nodded. "Open a channel to Regent Tolvar." The main screen flickered to life, showing the face of the Empire leader. His purple skin was pale with stress, but his eyes still burned with hatred. "Regent Tolvar," Burke said calmly. "This is Supreme Commander Burke of Earth. We offer you one final chance to surrender." The alien sneered. "Never. The Empire has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. We will not bow to primitives." Burke sighed. "Then you leave us no choice." Dr. Karen Mitchell stood in the control room of the Solar Severance weapon, humanity's most terrible creation. She had hoped they would never need to use it. "Target locked," reported her assistant. "Uninhabited moon in the Zorkal system." Dr. Mitchell nodded grimly. "This is a demonstration only. Confirm minimal power settings." "Confirmed. 20% power." She took a deep breath. "Activate the weapon." A beam of brilliant white light shot from the Reckoning, striking the small moon orbiting the 5th planet of the system. For a moment, nothing happened. Then cracks of light spread across the moon's surface. Seconds later, it shattered completely, breaking into thousands of pieces. "Target destroyed," said her assistant, voice barely above a whisper. On his command ship, Regent Tolvar watched in horror as one of their system's moons disintegrated. The humans had weapons that could destroy worlds. His officers stared at the screens in stunned silence. "Regent," a communications officer said shakily, "the humans are broadcasting again." Supreme Commander Burke's face appeared on the main screen. "That was 20% power, Regent. We can target any planet in your system. You have 1 hour to surrender. After that, we will target military installations on Zorkal itself." The screen went dark. Tolvar looked around at his officers. He saw the same fear in all their eyes. "Send the surrender signal," he whispered. Ambassador Maria Rodriguez sat at the conference table on the neutral world of Vextor. Across from her were representatives from 23 former Empire worlds, plus Regent Tolvar. "The terms are non-negotiable," she said firmly. "All Empire military forces will disband. Each world will establish its own government. War criminals will face justice. And what of our people?" asked a representative from one of the Empire's core worlds. "What happens to us?" Ambassador Rodriguez's expression softened slightly. "No one will be punished for the crimes of their leaders. Earth has no interest in ruling over others. We want peace, not conquest." "Why should we believe you?" Tolvar asked bitterly. "You have the power to destroy us all." "Because we could have already done so," Rodriguez replied simply. "Instead, we offer a new beginning. a galactic cooperative where all species work together as equals. 1 year after the war ended, President Laura Hawkins stood at a podium in the new Galactic Cooperative headquarters on Vextor. Representatives from 42 worlds sat before her, including humans and former Empire species. "Today marks a new chapter in galactic history," she said. "The Charter of Rights has been ratified by all member worlds. Never again will one species dominate others through force." Dr. Olivia Grant sat in the audience, watching with mixed emotions. The war had cost millions of lives, but it had led to freedom for countless beings across the galaxy. After the ceremony, she approached a group of aliens from a species that had been nearly wiped out by the Empire. They were the last few hundred survivors of their kind. "Dr. Grant," one of them said, bowing slightly, "our people will never forget what Earth did for us. You gave us back our future." "We did what anyone would do when faced with tyranny," she replied. The alien smiled sadly. "No, many would have simply destroyed the Empire and taken its place. You chose a harder path." As she looked around the great hall, filled with beings from dozens of worlds talking peacefully together, Dr. Grant finally felt the weight of the war lifting from her shoulders. Humanity had answered the Empire's declaration of war with the capacity for annihilation. But in the end, they had chosen something else, a chance for all species to build something better from the ashes of Empire.